Frey Holland, daydreamer, cat lover, New Yorker. On a fateful evening, her life changed drastically when she was mysteriously transported to the beautiful, treacherous land of Athia. Frey arrives with a magical, sentient bracelet inexplicably wrapped around her arm, then discovers she can cast powerful spells and use magic to swiftly traverse the sprawling landscapes. The last remnants of Athia's populace soon look to Frey as their only hope for confronting the Tantas, once benevolent matriarchs who now rule as maddened and evil sorceresses. Reluctant to help, but desperate to find a way back home, Frey sets off on a journey through this strange and dangerous land.
Good day, travelers. Today I'm covering the demo version of Forspoken. I know the full game is currently out, but I'm in between contracts and nowhere near the YouTube criteria to make capital on my channel. So it's not pragmatic to drop $60 at the moment. Also, take a little time to subscribe because I need 1,000 subscribers. Give it the thumbs up and enjoy the show. I need a routine amount of 1,500 hours. Being a demo version is part of my disclaimer. It's not the fully polished game, and it drops the player in an open world environment that is seemingly sometime into the full game. The protagonist comes with a small inventory of equipment, nail polish, and spells. I would imagine she picked it up through the standard gameplay. Also, the demo was recorded from my Steam account, not my PlayStation, since the PlayStation Store had removed its demo version. That led to some graphics challenges and loading delays because I have a modified Dell Inspiron mini desktop. Literally, the power component is external to the PC, simply to make room for the NVIDIA graphics card. It also has a 9th gen i5 processor, so it stressed out my system some. There's a link in the description to the Steam Forspoken splash page where you can see if your system is compatible. The demo was specifically crafted to exclude any story arc spoilers, so the gameplay is where much of my analysis will heavily rely on, with some added exposition towards the characters. Also to note, I haven't played through the whole demo, just enough to experience the gameplay mechanics and how they evolve through the main and side quests. So let's get down to business. When starting the demo, it plays the introduction from the Square Enix's YouTube channel that we've all seen a dozen times, then allows you to take control of Frey Holland, followed by an overly simplified tutorial option. You can opt out of the tutorial. Seeing as I never played the game before, and I'm not exceptionally happy with using triggers as melee options, I opted for the tutorial. The player will learn the basic moving mechanics as well as some preparatory spell weaving. The problem with the tutorial is it leaves a lot unsaid, and the player has to rely on their pre-existing gamer's experience. I didn't really appreciate how lackluster the tutorial was, so I'm kind of hoping it's more robust in the full game. But on to my experience. Within minutes of the playthrough, I heard Frey and her magical cuff, C-U-F-F, have a conversation. Both are played by Ella Balinska and Jonathan Cate. Ella was most recently in the Netflix's adaptation of Resident Evil as Jade Wesker, and Jonathan was in DC's Stargirl as Shade. Looking over IMDb, neither of them have done a lot of voiceover acting, while the latter did perform the voice of Darth Anton from Star Wars: The Old Republic. But I digress. I was a little confused because Cuff's description said it was a sentient bracelet. I just assumed it was imbued with magical item like those in Doctor Strange. But it talks, and it wasn't 100% clear. Makes me wonder if that's a plot device for later in the game, as in putting Cuff's conscience into her real body. But that's just conjecture. Again, you learn how to move pretty early using Frey's magical parkour function, and she can perform some amazing feats just off that alone. Her parkour abilities closely resemble that of Assassin's Creed's later entries, but Frey can also interact with objects as well. I was a little stunned to find out Frey can open chests and collect items with unique parkour animations, in addition to her dodging, ducking, dipping, diving, and dodging her combat encounters. She can also scale the sides of a cliff, not unsurprising there, but I once spammed the parkour button and she seemingly scaled the side of a mountain. Not sure if that's a bug, but it was pretty useful. Combat had an interesting twist too. I'm no stranger to D&D based games, especially those with spellcasting as a core part of the game. As stated, Frey already came equipped with spells, and again, the tutorial fell short in telling the player enemies will have resistances and weaknesses. Also, and certain spells offer either long range or close quarter combat similar to those typical spell games. My comparison relies again on Marvel's Doctor Strange, but also with Final Fantasy Type 0. All of their weapons were operated through their independent manifestations of magic. Nonetheless, Frey had a few options in the demo. The demo was default set to easy, so when I cranked it up to hard, I could tell major changes in the enemy's prowess and AI behaviors. Speaking of the official Steam splash page, say that 5 times fast, relating to the world of Athia as a beautiful and cruel open world. During my playthrough, I ran up on some deer or moose-like creatures and avian beasts that took me to task. Early on, the mobs I encountered were undead by the way of their animations, and I even fought a powerful boss. Even on hard, once I figured out her mechanics, I was able to make short work of her. About midway through the playthrough, the mobs became increasingly difficult as they were harder to kill, and they became more platoon-sized elements, so lots of the 5Ds before landing any meaningful attacks. Athia does have a beautiful environment, and I'm really upset my computer was only able to use low graphic settings. My computer crashed every time I elevated them and had to restart where I was. Fortunately, there's an autosave feature, but it's also good practice to do manual saves every once in a while. In a way, Athia reminds me of Elden Ring's The Land Between, or any Souls game map really. Areas of differing elevations, lavish monuments and buildings, and epic vistas where Frey can even take selfies at. There were several occurrences where some sinister overtones played out, and I couldn't discern where they originated from or if there were some imminent threat. I just parkoured my way out of there. All in all, I would rate Forspoken definitely as a playable game, notwithstanding my computer graphics challenges and the lack of a tutorial. Sadly, I also didn't get to experience any of the main story, but there are elements in the Frey's list where it pushed her spells and abilities forward, making it still pretty comprehensive. I appreciated the adaptive and intuitive parkour system that adds a high-speed element to the battle system and map traversal. Even though there is a fast travel feature, I really enjoyed being able to parkour through the land. I would recommend it to anyone who is looking for a nice deviation from the standard gameplay, and I would say Square Enix published a great game, but I would need to sink my teeth into the story. Thank you for your time, and I hope you appreciated the video.